For whatever reason, like this idea of dreaming big, it felt like almost selfish.
My dream was having a great husband and some kids. And anything beyond that, it was just really hard to even know how to do that.
I'm just speaking from the moment, right? Who needs cookies?
That totally makes sense that you should want to do everything, but the thing is you can't.
Did you say carry the conversation or hijack the conversation? Your partner being totally supportive. There are many women who don't have that.
He's okay with me stepping forward and taking the lead, having a business. It doesn't threaten him or his manhood.
If we want to find our flaws, we're going to find them. But if we focus on the things that we are doing well or the things that we really want to grow in, we can be happy and blossom.
But happiness really is growth. Progress is the happiness.
It's okay to dream big. It's okay to want more.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road. Last week, we got into a really deep topic on the show, domestic violence. So It was, domestic violence, emotional abuse, financial abuse, et cetera, as the king said on The King and I. And so I'm super, which we need to talk about. Like, it needed to be talked about. We had an incredible interview with Sean Johnson, who was trapped in that lifestyle. So we're great. We're really having fun taking these issues to women. But today, we're talking about cheesecake. Actually, we're going to get into self-care. But what better self-care can any woman give than Momo's blueberry cheesecake? Brought to you by
Oh my goodness.
So tell us, we're going to talk all things. We're going to talk a little finance and entrepreneurship, because you're an entrepreneur. You are not solely, you're not just the mom or the sweet lady in the back cooking the cheesecake. You are literally the kingpin of the Utah cheesecake mafia.
Something like that.
I'm having fun already.
I can tell.
Wait till I get some of this cheesecake in me today. But we'll talk about finances because it's so important for women. And I think, the example that you can talk about being an entrepreneur as a woman and a mother. How many children do you and your husband have?
So I'm pregnant with my fourth.
Yes.
Wow. And due in about 5 weeks.
I was going to say it's really soon.
Yeah, we're getting close.
And you have how many storefronts right now?
Right now we have 4 also.
So we're talking about, again, we're in Utah. So we're doing, this podcast, Maurine, pardon me, Kingpin Momo. This goes all over the world. We've done interviews in Bangkok. We've done interviews with women in Tokyo and Osaka, or I should say Osaka, Japan, in Puerto Rico. And we're now talking small town Provo, Utah.
Local,
and bringing a little local flavor, So you have four locations. And for those who visit Utah, because Utah is a great attraction. So we're going to be bringing people from Bangkok. I promise you, we will bring people from Bangkok and from Tokyo to taste the cheesecake. What 4 locations are you currently in here in Utah?
So we currently have 2 in Provo, and then we have another one in South Jordan, and that one's right off the freeway. So that one's easy access for a lot of people.
So that's in the Salt Lake Valley. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we have one that is in downtown Salt Lake, and we do get a lot of visitors there. So that's really fun.
Oh, no kidding. Did you know there was one in downtown Salt Lake?
I think I've read Salt Lake, but I didn't look to where.
We never have to go that far because listen, there are 2 Momos within 35 minutes of us. And dangerous. There could be another here if you bring one down to our little baseball and cowboy town.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
All right. So what are you most passionate about right now, and what are you doing? about it?
I feel like I have two great passions, and that would just be my family and my business. So trying to focus and send my energy in both directions while helping them both grow and hopefully thrive. And luckily, in both areas, I do have a lot of support, so that helps.
That is wonderful. It's always good and makes it easier when you have that support.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely can't do it alone, any of it.
Takes a village, right?
Yes, yes.
We know everybody, we were going to spend a lot of time talking about Cheesecake, obviously in business. But you mentioned your family first as a passion. And, interestingly enough, we work with 10,000 plus women around the world in our main business. And we have a lot of women who are single, some without children, a lot of women who are single with children. So family is, always at the top of their list. And then obviously a lot of married women at various stages, in their motherhood career and timeline. Tell us just about your family, what your main focuses are for your family right now, how you're quote unquote, I'm going to throw this out. It's kind of a tongue in cheek comment, and balancing it all, because we know that isn't necessarily balance.
Yeah.
But, tell us about your family and how that started.
So my husband and I actually met in high school, very end of high school, and we went to prom together. So that's kind of fun.
How cute.
Yeah. So we dated on and off for 5 years and then got married in 2013. 2 years later, we had our first. And my whole life, I always truly wanted a family. And that was, a really big dream and goal of mine. And so being able to find someone that you love, who's your best friend, who is just as committed as you is, a dream come true. And obviously there's growing pains as you grow and your life grows and responsibilities grow. But I feel very blessed that our relationship has grown together. And so my marriage is very, very important to me. And I have put a lot of time and effort into maintaining that and making sure that we keep that a priority with everything that happens in life. And then, so now we are pregnant with our fourth. So our oldest is 9, and then we have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and then we're pretty sure we're done. So this will be our last.
Famous, not last words, by the way, but that's okay. That's okay.
You never know. But so we're going to have 4. And I think in our home and with our kids and family, we try really hard to focus on emotional health, taking care of yourself and taking care of each other, and being kind, not just to obviously your family, but to those all around us. This summer, we've been focusing on earning things, so making sure that they understand that they need to work for the things that they want and earn their rewards. You always are trying to teach your kids the stuff that you wish you knew. So you take everything your parents taught you and then you try to add on. And so we're doing our best, but I feel like as parents, it's easy to feel inadequate because there's so much to teach them and life teaches them a lot. And so just kind of take it day by day. But we try to have a lot of open communication about everything. So we're hopefully hitting most of the things that we need to. And just making sure that the kids feel loved and safe in this home and that hopefully they can grow and flourish and take on whatever life brings.
Yeah, that's great. I can see how you guys can thrive with a business, also focusing on all of those wonderful foundational things, create a beautiful family and marriage. Marriage is huge to us too.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to be married, you better make it huge to you, right? Because
it's true.
Right.
It's true.
I mean, it sounds, and what's your husband's name?
Brandon, but at shop and on social media, he goes by Mr. Momo.
Oh, yes, Mr. Momo. Dude, he is a crack up.
He's
by
hilarious.
the way. Like, he seems like, to me, like a real kind of like a manly dude. Like he's a manly dude who's having a lot of fun in a cheesecake business.
Yes. So everyone comments on his size. He's a big guy. He likes to work out. I think he's very handsome. And then, on top of that, he's super goofy and he's not afraid to put that goofiness out there for people. So he's a lot of fun.
It's so true. You can feel it and see how genuine he is and that he's just carefree.
This
and
that's, I think, something that has been like huge is we very much balance each other out. We're opposites in a lot of ways. So he brings a lot of comedic relief and like, let's not stress about it kind of thing, and kind of brings me back down to earth in those ways. And also, I mean, I think, in my opinion, that a lot of women maybe would not have the support that I've gotten from my husband. He's okay with me, kind of stepping forward and taking the lead and having a business, and it doesn't threaten him or his manhood. And he supports me, and he's there whatever I need. And then also, puts himself out there to make jokes, and he's really great.
How would you describe your personality, Momo? So you talked about Brandon, about Mr. Momo.
Yes.
Right. Like he's got this comedic side. He's obviously very disciplined because, I mean, the dude has some girth. Yes. Right. And I'm going to say muscular girth. Right. Yeah. So like what's your personality type?
I think I'm a lot more reserved for sure. I think a lot of people, it takes them a long time to get to know me and my personality because I am reserved. I think to obviously those closest to me, I'm more comfortable, but I have a hard time being outspoken. And especially when I'm with him, it's easier to just let him talk and, carry the conversation.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Did you say carry the conversation or hijack the conversation?
Both, I don't know. Our first date, we went on a double date, and he brought his best friend, and his best friend brought a date, and his best friend and him just talked the whole time. And then he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm interested in her. She's kind of boring. And I'm like, yeah, that's...
He said that about you?
Yes.
Well, he's totally oblivious, just like totally having a dude talk.
Exactly. They had a great time together.
Yeah.
So was it a date with you or a date with his best friend?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what I want to know he says he regrets that now. So a couple weeks later, we went alone and had ice cream and talked for like 3 hours. So at that point, he was able to actually hear me and get to know me. And I mean, I do like to talk and connect, but I think that, one-on-one is a lot easier for me. So, but as far as my personality, I think that it takes people a little bit longer to get to know me. I do think I'm a warm person, but I don't come across that way on first impressions usually. Oh. So,
yeah, I would think that you're warm.
Thank you.
You brought up something, and I don't want to let it pass. Talking about wanting to own a business, and your partner, in this case, your husband, Brandon, being totally supportive. Mm-hmm. I think I want to jump into that because I think that there are many women who don't have that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to address that today. Like, how do we give hope, or what advice do you have? But that's huge. How did that happen? Is that just naturally him? How have you made that apparent? How did you communicate your needs? Because not every woman wants to own a business, but today, in today's world, it's not like when your parents grew up. It's not like when you were even a child. More and more women want to own businesses.
Yeah.
And more and more women, because of necessity, are choosing to own businesses, maybe even not just have a job.
Yeah, to kind of take control.
But to take, listen, if I'm going to have to work, maybe I want to choose to work on my terms.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of take us through your thought process, and then maybe tie in this whole communicating your needs? Like, listen, dude, I want to start a business. Are you going to be supportive of that or not?
Yeah. I do think that it comes naturally to him in general. He's a very humble person in most situations. So I think that's already a characteristic of his. But I do think that kind of through the experiences we've had over the last 16 years together has fostered that environment even more. So kind of interesting. I don't know. You probably don't know this about us. We actually owned a different business first, and it was his passion. So back in 2017, we opened a gym. We had the Grid Fitness, and that was kind of his baby. We went all in, and I was 100% supportive of him. And we really, had a lot of experiences doing that.
There's a lot of story behind that.
And so I think I had the opportunity to really be there for him and say, go for this, let's do it. Let's, how can I be there for you and support you in this dream? And so I think that was a big thing, was be able to have it both ways, I guess, or each of us had a turn kind of thing. So yeah, we had the gym for 3 years, I think. And then we ended up deciding to close that in 2020, in the fall of 2020.
COVID.
Yeah, that was a huge thing, is gyms and public places. I mean, it already was a little bit of a struggle, and then that just added on. And then at that point, crazy as it is, Momo's was growing. And so we had both, and it was kind of like, we're just spread so thin. So it's time to kind of pick what we're going to do. And at that point, it was kind of like a realistic conversation, like which one's making money, which one can support our family. And he was able to say, you know what, you're right. I think it's time to move on. And there was a lot of conversation about it not being a failure, but that, it's just time to move in a different direction. And for us as a couple and a family. And so at that point, that's kind of when our focus started to shift more on Momo's, because we had them both, like I said, at the same time. And it was more like my thing and his thing. And then.
So you started, he started the gym. And I said you guys started the gym. He let out on that. And then subsequent to that, you both started Momo's, you with your passion, and you were running them both at the same time in their early stages.
Yes.
And raising kids.
Yes.
Wow.
And you stayed married.
And trying to keep a marriage healthy and happy. Yes. Yeah. So I actually started Momo's first, technically, because I started it in 2015, but it was just out of my house. I was just doing it for a little something extra, a little creative outlet, because I was staying at home. And after I started staying at home, I learned how difficult that could be and isolating that could be. And so Momo's was kind of just a little side thing for me to give me some fulfillment, I guess, extra fulfillment in a different area. And so, yeah, did that. And so it was out of my house until 2019. So for those 4 years. So while he was doing the gym, I was just a couple cheesecakes here and there, but did start to grow a little bit, get wedding orders, which were bigger. And so Momo started to grow. And then, 2019, we had both businesses where they were starting to get bigger, and we were pretty spread thin for at that point. He kind of had his thing and then was able to pivot and be able to let me step up. And I think we learned, we are big on therapy. We think therapy is great. So we did therapy for a lot of years. And I think that really helped us learn to communicate and to be able to talk about our needs and be able to respect what the other one needs and kind of try to, in the ways that we can, provide space or give that to them or whatever it is. And so he already is a great guy and very supportive and humble. But then as we learned more and went to therapy, I think our relationship really deepened, and we were able to, be more vulnerable and communicate more. And at that point, when we had both businesses, have the conversation that we needed to kind of stick with Momo's, and he was able to be okay with that. And I feel like as more time goes on, he throws himself more and more into it. And so it's been good.
I was going to say, it seems like he's embracing it more.
Yeah, especially this last year. I think me getting pregnant, I kind of have to do less. And so he's stepped up more. And then obviously we have the support of my dad. And so the three of us make a good team, luckily.
How do you there in the hierarchy of leadership in the in the Cheesecake Company, what are the roles between Mr., Mrs., and Papa? I was going to say Papa Smurf because I want to say the Smurfs, but between the Momos. So
I was doing it myself for 4 years. So I feel like I'm kind of the creator. So whether anyone likes it or not, I kind of have final say in most things.
Ooh, we like that.
But so 2019 is when my dad came to me and he said, "Hey, do you want to really go for it with this? I think you have something that is working and a great product. And so 2019, he proposed that we start a food truck and then that he would become my business partner. So at that point, when we did decide to do that, we became 50-50 partners. So technically, me and my dad are 50-50 partners. I guess we have equal say. We kind of have our own areas, though, and that kind of helps.
And your dad knows don't mess with Mrs. Momo.
Don't mess with the product, the flavors, and the decorations.
Anything else is negotiable, but
Those
this
things we can talk about, but yeah.
Oh,
So great. Yeah, my dad, I mean, he's always had a business mind. He was an accountant and then he got his MBA later in life. And I think he's always wanted to be an entrepreneur and had that spirit. So I saw that from him and he did little things here and there. Yeah. So this was kind of his big thing. So he does a lot of the business, doing all of our licensing. He built out everything. He's very, very good, like and handy. He built the complete food truck. He's built all of our shops. So he's really, a total asset, of course, to the company. And then, he has lots of opinions about other things and we try to talk about them. But like I said, when it ends up coming to, our flavors or how they're decorated or the actual product, that's very much my specialty. And we'll argue about it, but he'll usually back down to what
you're like, sure, Dad. Do you want to go try to make one yourself?
Well, and the funny thing too is now that Brandon and my dad bake so much, they bake more than me probably. So They've mastered the baking, but I guess it's still my baby. So I still have final say on that. And also social media. That's my other big thing is kind of choosing how that goes. But in general, me and him talk a lot. And then when we have like meetings, we usually will have Brandon and my mom sit into and we'll try to all talk together and come to, I think we agree on most things. There's a few things that, you butt heads on, but in general, we can figure stuff out.
Well, if you're not butting heads, it probably means that either somebody is overbearing, right? And really not willing to negotiate, which is not healthy. Or you got a bunch of boring people who aren't generating ideas, right? So, I mean, some healthy butting heads.
And I think that, we've gotten used to the conflict. And conflict's okay. It doesn't mean it's like a bad thing, It's okay to have different ideas and to figure out a good middle ground. Because I think if, like you said, you just listen to one person, you don't have that balance. And I think we bring each other's weaknesses and strengths forward. And so it's a good thing.
What are some common financial challenges or obstacles that women face? And how do you think they can address them?
I think just being in Utah, I think it kind of is a little bit unique just because I think there are more stay-at-home moms. And so I feel like that changes the dynamic. And just kind of hearing what other women experience is that maybe when the breadwinner is the husband, they kind of have more control of the situation. And so I think a huge thing is making sure, hopefully before you get married, or even if it is after, that you figure out that you're on the same page to where you have equal say. Because I mean, being a stay-at-home mom, that is the work, and you're giving so much value to your husband. And I believe that, men and women should have equal say when they're married, whether one is working outside the home or not. And so making sure that you guys kind of have that understanding beforehand, that that you're on the same page, and not one person saying, well, I make the money, I make all the decisions type of thing. Mm-hmm. But I also see, I think like you were talking about earlier, that a lot of women are wanting to do more on their own, which I think is great, whether it's starting their own business or just working, a part-time job, or doing, I think there's a lot of stuff online now, which is really great, that give women, more access to financial, like adding to the family income. And so I think that's really great. And I hope that men can see the value that their wives bring to their family and to them personally by staying at home, by watching the children, by keeping the household running.
Well, and even, we've talked about how Brandon was super supportive in your ideas and the things that you wanted to pursue. Sometimes I feel like men don't realize the value in doing that for your marriage or for your spouse and the family altogether. It's such a blessing to be able to operate in that way.
I think that it's huge that both men and women see each other as you're on the same team. Like, it's not a competition or, one's better than the other, anything like that. You're just both bringing value to each other and your family.
And I also feel like not just the financial aspect of it, but especially women, were made to create. And so sometimes we're longing for another creative outlet. And so finding something that we're passionate about, like this, or like you said, there are a lot of online ways that women are expressing their creativity and also bringing in some financial stability, I think is super important.
I agree. And something that I've really loved about starting Momo's and starting to grow is I've met a lot of other women business owners and women entrepreneurs. And it's really amazing to see that and to have that in common and have someone to relate to. I'm really good friends with the owner of the chocolate, Kasia. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of Chris's Cake Company. She also has her own business. And so obviously those are both bakeries. And so that's great to talk to them about things and hear their perspective. And they have very supportive husbands. Karen from Oakford Gourmet. There's just so many people that I've got to meet and so many women who are doing their own business or side business. And it's really awesome to see that and be able to relate and to see these other men who are great and supportive.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. A blessing to the community as well.
Yeah.
And I love that you say that you guys are talking with each other and helping each other, because I find sometimes that people, especially when you're in the same, bakery, that people feel like, oh, we're competing against each other. We can't help each other, which really I feel like, when we come together and we help each other, then it helps us all to grow even more.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if that's just Utah, because obviously this is the only place I've been, but I feel like when we had just the food truck, I'd meet other food truck owners and they were very open to telling us, this has been our experience. This is what works for us, very open to sharing and want to support and help other businesses. And now that we're more like a brick and mortar, but restaurant groups and it feels like a very supportive community here in Utah, mm-hmm. where there's very few where it's feels like straight competition. It really just feels like we're all small businesses trying to survive and to grow. Mm-hmm. And we like to share ideas and support each other. And I think that's amazing. That's one thing I've loved about this area.
Yeah, that is amazing. That makes me really happy to hear.
My favorite cake at the chocolate is the husband.
That's a good one.
I always feel a little weird.
Or no, the yellow with the chocolate.
I always feel a little weird saying I'd like a big slice of husband. Because I'm like, there's just something about that just doesn't quite sit right with me. But that's what I'm going to I just love the husband. And maybe I just, yeah.
That's what he's always ordering. And, honey, I think it goes back to when, remember how my friends and I used to say, it's only as awkward as you make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never thought it was awkward until you say it that way. And I'm like, okay, this is awkward.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I love their Kazukis. And then they're Oreo sandwiches.
We've had their Kazukis.
Their Kazukis are really good. Going back to your relationship, I just have a question. Do you guys do date night? You and your husband?
We try to. Not something we've been able to be as consistent on as I would like. But we do try to make time for it. So maybe once a month. We're very blessed that both my parents and my in-laws live here. And so we've been able to not have to do daycare or babysitters. I also have I have 5 siblings, but 3 of them are here. So also backup babysitters. But we try to make time when we can, but we do still try to make sure we have time at home when we can, when we can't do date nights.
I was going to say, so how do you keep your marriage so healthy and happy? Because I know, at least for me, date night or date day or whenever we can fit in, is super important to me to feel like, okay, I can step out of mom mode or businesswoman or, anything. And I can just be a wife and have fun with my best friend or connect on some level.
Yeah, I think that, we try to do that when we can as far as date nights. And then we try to make sure that we make a big deal about anniversaries or birthdays. So when we can just go overnight, we have the parents who can help us so we can do one day we had our anniversary in May, and it was less than 24 hours because we had to work, but we got, a few hours in to spend time together. But then, I think our big thing is just time after the kids go to bed. So trying to get them to bed early, even though that can be difficult. And then,
Yes.
Okay, what time do you put your kids to bed?
Usually by 8. Now that it's summer, it's been like 8:30.
What time do they really go to sleep?
My boys will fall asleep so fast, but my
God bless
daughter,
you.
she has a hard time. So by 9, usually my daughter's asleep. So,
And what time do you and Brandon typically go to bed then?
I'm like more of a night owl than he is. He's more of a morning person. So that has also played
That's
a role in how we do things. But now that I'm pregnant, I am more tired. So it's easier for me to say, okay, yeah, let's go to bed.
Yes.
But we usually are going to bed 10:30. So we usually have like an hour together where we try to either, sit and talk. Sometimes we watch a show. We found that when we watch a show, though, we've noticed that our relationship seems to struggle more because it's just not like quality spending time together.
Yeah.
The big thing is just like talking about the day, like what happened at work or with the kids. So we feel like we're kind of being heard. And if we're struggling, that's a big thing. We do a lot of check-ins. That's something that I learned. I used to go to a women's group. It was like a wives supportive group kind of thing. I learned about check-ins. We do it now more just when we're having a hard time because we know we need to check in. We used to do it like every day, but just saying how we're feeling, usually 2 emotions, maybe what's bringing up these different emotions, and then what we need. And I think that's just helps us be self-aware, just to be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And if I'm struggling, how can I meet these needs? And then how can I ask for help? And so we try to be there for each other. But like you said, I feel like being married to your best friend is like a huge thing, is you actually enjoy being together. So whatever we are doing, like sometimes we'll both have to work. And when we get to go in, that even feels like getting to spend time together when we're at work together, because at least we're together and we can joke around while we're doing all the other stuff.
Well, and you're, making cheesecake, which I think is fun.
Yeah. The only challenge is I can't decide if this is cheesecake therapy. We talked about therapy, or hi, my name's Seth and I am addicted to cheesecake.
I think it's self-love.
Yes, I'm with Momo.
It's all about balance, for sure. Brandon can attest to that because he eats cheesecake every day.
Oh, wow.
And looks the way that he does.
Wow.
Dude.
I'm like, that can be bad for you to know.
It's all right. It's all right. He's counting. I bet you he makes sure he gets his protein. Like he gets his protein and he gets his cheesecake. Like you can have your cheesecake and eat it too.
That's right. Well, cheesecake has a lot of protein, so.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
All right, Momo, can you share with us any personal stories or tips about overcoming financial hurdles and also achieving your financial goals?
That's something that I feel like, we've definitely learned a lot about. I think being an entrepreneur, you learn a lot about struggle, financial struggle, and all struggle. But
yes,
some people get to go into business and their parents or someone they know can invest a lot, and that's awesome. And some people are starting from nothing and you're really trying to grow and fight. And that's kind of more where we were. And so like with starting the gym, we were able to have our parents invest to open the gym. But as far as like personal financial, we were, we had to make the business work to survive. And it was very slow growth. And so really learning to save and be as frugal as possible and get all the help that you can from the different resources. And for years it was like that. And then choosing to go into Momo's knowing, hey, we're still not going to have a steady income and we're going to try again and see if we can grow this. And I mean, we have had growth and it's been amazing, but I think maybe to some it would be very slow growth also. And so being patient and figuring out, where you can save money and what's a priority. And with that, we've really carried that into business as well, as being frugal in our business. And we had an initial investment of $15,000.
15?
15. and we have never put any more money into it. It's all been self-funded. And so that's something that I'm really proud of, that we don't have. I think some businesses have, $100,000 in debt that they're trying to pay back. And we don't have that hanging over our heads, and we don't grow until we know we can support that. And so I feel like it's kind of been personal and business that we've taken the things that it's really my parents that they've taught us a lot about being frugal and how to do things. And so, like I said, with the business, instead of taking a huge investment, you can buy a lot of things used that are in great condition, and you can do a lot of things yourself. Like I said, my dad goes on YouTube and says, how do I do this? And then learns to do it and learns to build a food truck that has all the things that we need. And so there's definitely resources out there for you to try to make smarter choices than just investing a lot of money and paying a contractor or whatever it is, to make sure that you're going to be sustainable and continue to grow and hopefully have financial freedom.
That really speaks to me. I'm such a frugal person, so I can appreciate all that you guys have been through, all the struggle and also the creativity, figuring out how to make it the best, but also financially able. That's great.
That is very much you.
It is.
So tell us about the entrepreneurial dream. I mean, you've been in this now. You're coming up on 10 years next year.
Yeah.
Right. From the inception, and you've talked about patience. So where does patience come in, and how do you balance or how do you prioritize patience and ambition for growth? Because I'm guessing that at some point you're thinking, listen, we want to have a massive cash flow coming in from this business.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. As far as the entrepreneurial dream, I never had it. So that was something that was kind of not thrust upon me, but I saw it in my husband, my mother-in-law, my father. But for me, being like an introvert, like that idea, I feel like an entrepreneur needs to be able to like be a salesperson and go out there, and like that just didn't feel natural to me. I always thought I would just get married to somebody who would work 9 to 5 and I'd be a stay-at-home wife. And so my life definitely has turned out very different than I ever expected. But I think owning the gym taught me a lot, and seeing that and helping Brandon grow that. And then, just for whatever reason, once I started making cheesecakes, I wanted to share that with people. And obviously the way you do that is, to start selling to people, because, I can't just give it away. But so wanting to share this, because I don't know, I really do feel like I try to put like love into this product, and I want it to be something that people enjoy. And really my whole mission with this was that I want people to gather around my cheesecakes for special occasions and special memories. And that will just be part of that memory. Because for me, I love food like so much. And like all of my travel is around which restaurants I want to go try, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Or like birthdays or specific cakes. And so I want Momo's to be part of those special memories of travel or special occasions or weddings. And so it just adds to that memory of connection or whatever the special occasion is. As I started putting it out there, I realized if I want it to get to more people, it does need to grow and be a business. And so I had to kind of take on that business role, an entrepreneurial role of wanting to grow. And social media has been the biggest thing for us. That's kind of the road we decided to go down, and it has worked great for us. And we have never paid for advertising anywhere. It's all just been natural. Just whatever you post on social media. Maybe that was kind of part of it, is I didn't have huge dreams. And so I was fine with being patient. When my dad became my business partner, I think it was like that first summer, he's like, so like, how big do you want to get? Like how much in sales? Cause he's like this business mind, and he is the entrepreneur. And I was like, I don't know, like $100,000 in a year. And he's like, I was thinking like 10 million. So our dreams were like miles apart. We did not have the same view of what we were doing. So I think my dad has pulled me to have higher goals and expectations and all that. And I kind of bring him down to being more realistic maybe. And so like I said, I just feel like we have been a really good balance for each other. And so he's like, okay, I think it's time to open another shop. I'm like, okay, well, let's make sure we're ready. Like, and then, yeah, we've just taken it step by step and tried to be really smart about it. Like I said, so that we don't ever have to get to a point. Cause I think some businesses, they're excited and they feel like they have like a good product or concept and they try to explode and you just can't keep up with it. And you see, I can think of a few, but I won't name them, but you see them kind of blow up, be all there, and then all of a sudden they're all closing and you just grow too fast. And so I think patience is super important in making sure you're doing it step by step and foundation that is really sturdy. I mean, in business, they talk a lot about a proof of concept. And so making sure you have that proof of concept before you're doing the next step. So we are growing and I'm happy with our growth and we want to grow bigger. And, it would be a dream to have this be able to be, across the country that everyone can try cheesecake. I think that it's a really great dessert, but we want to make sure that we take the right steps to do it and do it in the right time for us personally and for the business.
Like we got CEO Momo
Seriously
here laying down really some beautiful entrepreneurial cheesecake nuggets, right? Mini bites,
cheesecake bites,
because I think a lot of women, and Steph, I'd love you to weigh in on this. I think a lot of women can relate with your perspective, kind of growing into leadership or growing into entrepreneurship. And it gives you a totally different perspective and a total different set of values. It is a two-sided coin. If you want to be if you want to be successful, let alone wildly successful, you better have both sides of this coin. You better have ambition, because ambition is what's going to cause you to grow. Like have the ambition of a little seed. That seed's pretty ambitious if you think about it. It's like, I got to grow up to the sun. At the same time, it has to be tempered with patience. And so to have both of those and to make them work together, and I think you and I have that balance. Sounds like you and Papa Momo and Brandon have that as well. I think it's super helpful. Helpful. It's a necessity. So I think you have just some incredible wisdom, sage wisdom for entrepreneurs, but specifically for women in entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah, I don't know if other women can relate, but that's something that I actually found that was a struggle. For whatever reason, like this idea of dreaming big, it felt like almost selfish. I don't know exactly what the emotion was, but it felt like I shouldn't do it or shouldn't want it. But I could see like my dad has, no problem wanting like this crazy stuff. And so it's something that I feel like I've had to get more comfortable with and try to figure out what it is. And I don't know if it's my personality or being a woman, but it's okay to dream big. It's okay to want more. It's okay to want to have money. And it's not a negative thing. And so I think that's something that having my dad and Brandon around have maybe given me the space to do and to get more comfortable with, even if I'm not quite up to where they are, but it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. On some of our podcasts, I've talked about how, even just doing this podcast is way outside my comfort zone. I'm a huge extrovert, but for whatever reason, like this type of stuff is just so outside my comfort zone. And I've had to really grow into it. Even within our business, it's been a huge growth for me to step up to leadership and to start fulfilling some of those roles. But even, talking about dreaming, like, whenever I talk about dreaming, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to not know how to dream. That was something, my dream was having a great husband and some kids, and anything beyond that, kind of like what you said, almost felt selfish, or it was just really hard to even know how to do that. That's something that I've had to learn over we've been married almost 10 years. And, it's been a huge growth for me to figure out how to dream and to go after my dreams and to know that, it's self-care. It's taking care of myself. And
it's okay.
Yes. It is so good for you. And it also helps. I feel like it helps give my children permission to start dreaming, decades before I even started dreaming.
Yeah. And I hope that I'm giving that to my children, especially my daughters, that they'll see it. And if they want to be a stay-at-home mom, great. But if they want to do more, that's great too. And that they can figure out what they want. It's okay. And they shouldn't feel like they have to ask permission or.
Yes.
One thing that you said just has super resonated with me, the entrepreneurial mind. And that is, and I don't know. I just want to bring it up. So I hope everybody, especially the women who listen to this, who are entrepreneurs or who are interested in entrepreneurship, you talked about the entrepreneurial dream and, well, I didn't have that. And yet your vision for Momo's was not simply to sell the best doggone cheesecake, right? It was to go way beyond simply selling cheesecake. And I think that that's something that naturally women bring to the entrepreneurial table that often men don't. And you're like, I want cheesecake to be emotional. Well, we already know it's emotional, but I want this product to be part of an experience that makes a difference in people's lives, in their celebration, in their connections. And that has stemmed from your own personal passions and loves, right? Traveling with food. We're foodies. So when you're talking about, that's how we do it. I was thinking, Steph, we could travel with these folks.
Yes.
Right. But making sure that your business has a big reason, has a big, a big deliverable more than simply selling the product.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
yeah,
I think that's super powerful.
That makes a huge difference. That's one thing I really want to focus on moving forward, because we are talking about growing and expanding and just making sure that we keep that the reason, not making more money. That's a great benefit. And obviously we need money and we want it, but that if we lose sight of the mission, then I feel like the company and the product won't be as successful. And so figuring out how we can have this grow and have other people involved and keep that the center of the message and mission. So.
Well, I already loved Momo's cheesecake so much, but just learning all of this, man, my respect for you guys and my love for what you're doing and your product and everything has just shot through the roof.
Thank you. That means a lot. I feel like, it is my passion. It's my baby. And I hope people can feel that when they come in and when they eat it, that it's not just about making money, that it hopefully means more. And so that means a lot hearing that. So thank you.
Yes.
When you think about role models for yourself, women role models, who do you look to? Who's that? I know there's no perfect women. There's no perfect woman because they're all perfect. No, but who is that woman that for you, woman or women, that you either know personally or that you look to, far off or historical, who are the women that you look to for inspiration?
That's a really hard question. Not one person's coming to mind, but I do feel like I draw from a lot of different women for different reasons, but finding strength and seeing strength in women, women in my personal life that I see who really fight for their family or fight for their marriage, and drawing from that. And a lot of the women that I've met through business, some of the ones that I mentioned, and seeing them, working really hard to have the balance of life and family and, still making their career a priority. And I think that in general, as a society, that we have kind of finally said it's okay out loud for women to be strong and to want more and to do multiple things. And so, I don't know, I feel inspired by a lot of women that I get to interact with or see through social media or media in general. So yeah, I think just women being able to be themselves and be okay with being strong and be okay with accomplishing things. And yeah, that's definitely inspired me that it's okay to want more.
Is that something that has been difficult? Because you've said that several times. How have you challenged that status quo, wanting more, or was that something that was not part of your growing up? So you're kind of challenging yourself and saying, no, it's okay. It's okay to want more.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's a societal thing or if it's maybe more of like a religious thing that, what you want is your family and your marriage, which I absolutely do. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to want more than just that. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure exactly where it came from, but yeah, definitely challenging it for whatever reason. Like if my husband was having the success with his own business, I think that would feel more comfortable than it being like my own. And for whatever reason that is. I think a huge thing has been gratitude, being able to like see how far we've come, see the steps that we've made, and know that I am grateful for all of it. Something that Brandon kind of struggles with that we talk a lot about is like comparing. I think that can be really hard as you compare and say, oh, well, why aren't we this far in life like this person or whatever it is. And I think I haven't had that issue for whatever reason. And I've always felt really, really grateful for what I do have. Mm-hmm. And so I think as long as I don't lose sight of that, it feels okay to keep doing it. And the other thing is knowing how hard I've worked. I think that the only other person who really sees it is Brandon, but even then he can't see everything. And just knowing how much time and effort and mental load, and I know that I've worked really hard for this. And so I think that also helps it feel like it's okay, is know that I feel like I've done what I need to do to kind of earn it as we've grown also. And so I don't know if I need to rationalize it, probably not, but those are some of the things that help me, is to step back and make sure I'm grateful, make sure I am working hard for it, and know that, I'm doing all that I can to hopefully continue to have success.
Can you share with us experiences that you've had with overcoming self-doubt or imposter syndrome? Any, advice to other women on how they can overcome that?
Yeah. And I think the imposter syndrome kind of has to do with feeling like maybe you don't deserve these things, or being okay with wanting to have big dreams and wanting to make a lot of money. The other thing that I thought about when I saw that question is just trying to say yes to things, even if it feels uncomfortable. I've been invited on the news, I think 3 times. Mm-hmm. And the idea of like going on TV is uncomfortable and scary, and have all these self-doubts. I have tried to just always say yes, even if maybe it doesn't feel comfortable, and just putting myself out there and just saying, hey, I'm going to do the best I can. One thing that's nice is that when it comes to talking about Cheesecake business, I do feel a lot more comfortable and confident. Whereas unfortunately, not feeling confident in the way I look, that holds me back more than the actual business. And so trying to not let insecurities that maybe are not that important hold you back from doing things. Going to networking events, that's uncomfortable for me because you have to talk to a bunch of people, but it's a good thing, and there's benefits to them. Going on social media, doing videos, that's uncomfortable, but I think it's good for people to get to know who's behind, the business. And I think it's hard for Brandon. He does put himself out there, but it's still, he'll have that, we call it a vulnerability hangover. Oh. So you feel vulnerable putting yourself out there. And then afterwards you kind of have this and you feel self-conscious about it. So still doing it and just saying, hey, this is me. And some people will like it, some people won't. And trying to just take the opportunities you can.
Love me, hate me, I still make the best cheesecake.
That's a good way of putting it.
Well, it's so interesting because I actually love going and looking at your guys' stories or your posts. And I would never suspect that either one of you would feel that way with social media or anything. Like Like I get value just from watching you guys, not just eating your cheesecake. And so it's great for me to, to hear these stories that I'm not alone in those struggles. Social media asks Seth, like anytime he's like, hey, let's do a reel, or hey, let's do it. And I'm like, okay. Like that's me trying to say yes, but also, validating myself that this isn't easy, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And it's nice to get like the external validation, like you get a lot of views, like that feels good. And then there's ones that don't do well. And so you just have to be okay with whatever happens.
Yes. Yes. I also find and wonder, you're talking about the comparison trap of, your image. I have such a huge problem with that. I've definitely gotten a lot better, but I still struggle with that sometimes. And I wonder if that's like the comparison trap for women, is about their image. And for men, it's more of what am I providing, versus the other guy.
It's the results
next door. It's the results, I don't know how I've never thought of it that way.
Seems like it for sure. I think maybe that's kind of what society tells us. We bring value, men providing and women in looking. And
yes, that's where your worth lies, which, really has nothing to do with your worth.
Right.
Yes. Trying to validate that and recognize that we came with our worth.
Right.
We're not trying to.
I think just recognizing when you're doing it and it's going to keep happening, but just trying to call yourself out and work through it and let it go.
Well, and I think also for me, at least, it's been really helpful to validate myself on the things that I am really good at, not just focusing on those things. Because, let's be real, we're all imperfect. We're all here to learn. And so if we want to find our flaws, we're going to find them if we look. Like we all have them. But if we focus on the things that we are doing well or the things that we really want to grow in and focus our time and energy on that, then, we can be happy and blossom.
Yeah. And being okay with growth, because that's, the whole point, I feel like, of life is that we got to keep growing, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes.
I truly believe that we talk about the pursuit of happiness. You talk about making more money, making a lot of money. That's great, by the way. It's awesome, right? But happiness really is growth.
Mm-hmm.
Progress is the happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And because you can make a lot of money and feel like you are sitting on top of a pile of money and be very, very unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
For a number of reasons, by the way, but especially if you've taken your eye off the real goal. And sometimes we thought that making money was the goal, and it is definitely a goal, but it is not the goal.
Right.
And you can be completely miserable because you stop growing, right? You can have tons of money and be growing and be wildly happy and still struggling, but growth is happiness.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that's coming to mind when you're saying that is, I'm talking about insecurities. I feel like a lot of times people are like, don't want to shine a light on the insecurities. They don't want to talk about it or look at it because that's uncomfortable. And it also makes, I think, you feel inadequate because you're saying, I'm falling short in these areas, and that's hard. And that's really hard to do. And it's, I think, even harder to do in front of someone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that brings the most growth, having the strength to be vulnerable and say, I don't feel like I'm doing well in these areas. And you're going to see this dark part of me or negative part of me, and letting someone see that actually brings the most growth and actually brings, I think, the greatest happiness, because you're showing all of yourself and getting, hopefully, love and compassion in the dark areas and the light areas of your life. And so that's something that I truly, truly appreciate. And I've seen a lot in my life, and being vulnerable and stepping into that is so hard, but so rewarding in personal life or in marriage or in families or friendships or whatever it is putting yourself in that dark place reaps the greatest rewards.
Definitely. I've been to some trauma retreats. I'm always trying to okay, I can say something a little faster instead of waiting till okay, we're done talking or, whatever. And sometimes people are like, wow, you're so vulnerable. You just open up. And I'm like, yes, because I've had the taste of what's on the other side of opening up. It makes it easier to be able to open up.
Right.
Not only that, but it helps give other people permission for them to do it as well.
Yeah.
It
And I think
invites
that's a
them
huge thing.
into that circle. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you feel like it's a safe place and you see someone else do it, it feels like it opens the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that connection, I feel like heals it.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys listen to Brene Brown, but I think she's amazing and talks so much about vulnerability, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
And that just reminds me a lot of the stuff that she says is having that connection, that vulnerability is all about life and happiness and feeling.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, how does societal expectations and stereotypes affect women's mindset, and what can be done to break free from that?
I feel like we've talked a lot about the different things that have kind of pulled us back, is maybe saying like that, our looks are our biggest value. And I think a lot of us get stuck focusing so much on those things and feeling like we can't do things because I'm overweight or I'm not attractive or all these things. I don't know. I feel like it consumes us.
Mm-hmm.
To where we can be very unhappy and not be able to focus on things, like maybe being more focused on, losing the baby fat versus like being there for the kids or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be really hard. And I think being in a men's space business or other areas, and feeling like it's okay to have a voice, it's okay to speak up, and wanting mutual respect in those areas. I think that it's funny or interesting that in a lot of experiences I've noticed that the default is kind of to turn to my husband, to talk to my husband, even when it's certain things where it's like, this is my area. Like we have our own areas and whatever it is. But when I see them turn to him and talk to him and kind of ignore me, like that can be a little bit frustrating. So trying to stand up in those situations, and again, having a supportive partner is super helpful too.
You're having an experience that many women are having in business. And you're also, you're setting down tracks and creating precedent for other women to learn from, right? Just like you learn from, the other women in your community, in the restaurant, community. So
I think that my dad has done a great job too. I think when you guys talked to them, you kind of saw that he's okay with saying, Maurine's in charge and she makes the decision. Like he makes that space for me too. And so he is very supportive in that way too. And being able to say that, we make decisions together, or she makes a decision about that. So that also brings confidence to me in the situation.
Definitely. I feel like, anytime I'm in those situations and Seth is like, oh, you've got this. Oh, I've always known you could do it. I'm like, wait, what? And it like you said, it just brings so much more confidence in myself and helps me to know that I can do more than I think I can.
What, speaking of being vulnerable, what do you feel like you're not doing? Like, what is your biggest struggle for your own personal self-care right now?
Having self-care at all. No. I think right now the past couple of months have been really hard, because being pregnant is just exhausting. And we're getting near the end and it's just uncomfortable. And a couple weeks ago, I found out I have gestational diabetes. So that's added another layer of having to do all those things. And then having 3 kids, it's summertime, they're home from school. So making sure they're getting the attention and care that they need, making sure Brandon and me are good. And then on top of all of that, the business, we had lost a couple of employees. So training and hiring takes a lot of time and effort. So it just feels like it's like on top of each other. And so I guess a big thing is trying to stay on top of it so that you're always doing it, so that you don't get to the point where you feel like you're going to crack. And so a big thing is, being aware of how you're doing, how you're feeling, and keeping like that meter there. I feel like things have been different just being pregnant. And so self-care for me is like going and taking a bath and being alone and having quiet. When I'm not pregnant and in different circumstances, I feel like going out and connecting with people is a big thing for me, whether it's like with my sisters or friends or my mom, or just dates, doing those things. But I feel like being pregnant kind of puts me in survival mode. So having time with Brandon, having time at home with the kids, and then having just kind of quiet time to myself is really important. One thing I saw with Brandon having the gym, I saw what burnout looks like. And so that was a huge lesson to me. He cared so much. He wanted to do everything because he knew that, when you're a business owner, like only you will do it exactly how you want it to do.
Yeah.
And so like that totally makes sense that you should want to do everything. But the thing is you can't. Like it's not realistic.
Yeah.
And so watching him do everything by himself for over 2 years, just saw his physical and mental health just have a decline. And so finally towards the last year, he started asking for help. He started hiring people. But I think by that point, it was like a little bit too late. He was already so worn down. We were worn down as a family. And so I learned right away, like, you have to be okay with letting go of control. You have to be okay with letting other people do things. You do your best to train them, and you accept that it's not going to be the way 100% you would do it. And so asking for help, reaching out, making sure you hire good people. And then, a big thing for us is just asking our parents, hey, we really need a night off. Can you watch the kids so we can spend time together, or whatever it is?
I think so many entrepreneurs or people who just start a business, because most people who start a business don't consider themselves entrepreneurs necessarily, right? Okay, listen, you know what? I need to make some side income, or let's own a business because we know how to groom dogs, and we can make some money. But the myth is that, like, unless you build this out and plan this out, you may find yourself totally burned out. You may find yourself there's a difference between being self-employed and owning a business, right? And if you want to own a business, then you need to be able to create systems. I know you guys are creating, you don't own multiple locations without having systems, right? And being able to train and entrust others to carry the mission forward. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in that self-employed wheel. Yeah,
and I think also being able to step away, because you can go home and still have a million things to do, and be on your phone or in your mind. And, you have to be able to say, okay, I'm done with work. I need to step away, and it'll be there tomorrow, and I'll figure it out tomorrow. And that's hard, especially when it's like big things. But you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Yes.
I felt that.
It may or may not be something he's working on.
My mom complains. She's like, all we ever talk about is cheesecake. She hates that that's what they talk about at home. And then at family dinners, we're talking. So you gotta turn it off.
It's so true. So true. Sometimes it can be really hard. I find when we go on our dates, oh yeah, I need to fill you in on this, or, oh, I've got this question, and for a while it really bothered me, because I'm like, can I just have like a couple hours of not talking about the business? I love the business. I see what a blessing it is to us and thousands of other people. Right. I also just want to be us, which I've come to learn is integrated into who we are. So I typically will say, okay, can we talk about this just for, 10 minutes, or, okay, I give you 1 or 2 questions, and then we need to shut it off until after the date is over. And then we can resume back to that. Cause, I do find that sometimes I start feeling that way too, where I'm just like, oh, we're going to talk about this again, when it shouldn't feel that way. It's something that's such a great thing and a great blessing. And I don't want to feel that resentment towards it, or that it's being brought up. So,
well, it's like your relationship. You first are before you're a strong couple, you have to be a strong individual. Even if your partner makes you better. I know you make me better, and you guys have an amazing marriage, Maurine, through all the ups and downs. But before you're a great spouse, you got to be a great individual. And the same with your business. You have to be an individual independent of that business, right? Yes. Healthy, because unhealthy you is not going to help you build a healthy business. So it is super important to, I'm not going to use the word balance, but to, like you said, Momo, to shut off and to take care of what needs to be taken care of and be an individual and just be a couple. Hey, it's us tonight. And no, we're not going to talk about 7 social media ideas or our next 7 podcast potential collaborations but wait, there's more because
the wheels keep turning.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think that it will take away from it, whether it's marriage or business, stepping away and having your own time in your marriage and working on yourself, and then stepping away from your business and having your own either life, family, whatever it is actually going to make it stronger, which maybe seems counterintuitive. But yeah, you see what happens when you give 100% in one area, and it's not sustainable.
It's not, I can't remember. Somebody said something to me recently. If you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. And so if you're constantly saying yes to your family, that means you're saying no to to your business, then you're saying no to your family or to other things outside of that. And, if you're focusing on one thing only all the time, you're not going to be happy.
Well, I think it's time for some self-love.
I'm just going to say, I don't like eating on camera.
On camera. I know we're going to do it anyway.
I am excited to have cheesecake, so it does make it better.
It looks like you guys got caramel Biscoff, salted dark chocolate, and blueberry. Did you get those too?
So what is your favorite cheesecake flavor?
I really love our citrus ones. There's something about like that bright tartness with the cream cheese that I just love. So like our raspberry lime, our lemon curd are 2 of my very favorites. And then I also really like our spiced ones. Again, I feel like something with the cream cheese and spiced is good. So we do a chai tea. That one's really good. A caramel apple crumble. That one has cinnamon in it. So, or pumpkin, that one too. So those are kind of my 2 favorite profiles. And people ask me if I eat cheesecake all the time, and I don't ever tell them, but I eat cheesecake like once every 3 months.
What?
I'm not eating them every day. My dad and Brandon are eating them pretty much every day, but it's just when my favorite flavors come around that I actually eat them.
Wow.
Why is that? Is that because of like cheesecake overload? Is it just your personality? You're happy to create and you don't have to be in the kitchen licking the spatula, speaking from personal experience?
I think a big thing is I feel very self-critical of myself and my product. I want it to be perfect and the very, very best. And so I think sometimes it's hard to really enjoy because I'm thinking like, oh, is this the right consistency? Is this the right this? And so it's not as enjoyable. I think that's part of it. And then, maybe just being around it all the time, it's just more work for me but when it's the right flavors, I really do enjoy it. And it's not very often. So I don't know if that's why.
Okay. So I have a question then.
Okay.
And part of this comes from the fact that the raspberry lime is one of my top so far of your cheesecakes. Like, I absolutely love that one. But is that the reason why? Because I've noticed the last 3 years for March Madness, that raspberry lime has always come out on top, but it's still not a regular.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's voted every year to win. That's what most people say is their favorite. It's a fan favorite, everything. And I don't know. We've never talked about adding to the classics. I don't know if it's just because we already have 5, and I keep thinking like, should I not include it so that it can't win again and we get a new winner? Yeah. But they keep everyone keeps voting for that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I don't know if we've talked about this because that sometimes I forget things.
Yes.
Occasionally.
Okay.
Occasionally.
Just occasionally.
So we went to this amazing, we were in New York visiting our son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren a couple of years ago. And of course, if you go to New York, you have to eat
cheesecake,
some good cheesecake. Yeah. And we found this place in Jersey, actually just across the river, which was stunningly amazing, family-run business. And they had what I think to this date is definitely one of my top flavors. You know what I'm going with this?
Yes, I know which one.
Does Momo make that?
Not yet.
Okay, good. I didn't want. I was hoping that you weren't going to say, yeah, Seth. Do you remember when we had that? I'm like, oh yeah, it was so good that I must. So check this out. Do I have your attention?
Oh my goodness.
I'm on the edge.
Okay, this is product development, product research. Baklava.
Oh.
They made a baklava cheesecake with some.
Now my mind is like trying to like logically figure out how you would do that.
Right.
Yeah, with the walnuts and the honey and that kind of, the caramelization.
And cinnamon.
Yeah. Oh, cinnamon and the
pastry.
That pastry kind of a cheesecake crust, but with those thin pastry kind of workings. It was amazing.
That sounds amazing and so creative.
Challenge with it wouldn't win any contest because most people don't have an appreciation for baklava or really good baklava. I mean, let's just be honest. How many people are like, let's eat Greek tonight, right?
I feel like it's becoming more of a thing in Utah.
Well, hopefully we can do that.
I've seen it pop up a lot lately.
Baklava cheesecake, it was amazing.
That's another thing that I really loved is people come up with really creative flavors, and I feel like it pushes me to try to figure it out, and so it can be stressful, but I think it's awesome.
Yes, I didn't even think about that.
This was from which location?
I don't remember which, but it was Provo.
If my dad was there, I'm going to guess it was the one on Freedom, just because that's where he usually is.
I think it was. You're right.
And we're doing this. Well, let's face it, we're doing this for us, but we're glad that everybody's here. No, we're doing this because we're going to share a moment here. And sorry, we didn't give you the memo, Momo, but we know maybe it's not the day to eat cheesecake, but like if we're going to do a podcast and a show about cheesecake, there is no way we're talking about cheesecake without tasting the cheesecake.
At least not with him. Like he's so used to, going on and like, he's really good at cooking or smoking or, meats and different things. And I know I clarified. I
was like, how does she know I smoked? Like,
just meats and mac and cheese.
Yes, thank you.
And he's always just like, oh, look at this. Okay, let's take a bite. And I'm like, okay, I feel awkward and I'm not even the one doing it.
It's only as awkward as you make it. I don't know. It's great. That's great. Let's do it. We want to take people on a little tour. So this is one of this week's special flavors, right? Blueberry.
Yep.
So which is a blueberry topping on. Is that cream cheese on the top, by the way?
So that's whipped cream.
Okay, with the whipped cream.
So we have a graham crust, original cheesecake, blueberry sauce, and whipped cream. We make all of our sauces in-house. So we made the blueberry sauce. We make all of our whipped cream fresh every day. So yeah, we called that one. I'm actually very proud of our whipped cream. That's something I worked hard on. Brandon's like, it needs to be thick and it needs to be good. And so it took a little while and I feel like we perfected the recipe.
I love whipped cream.
He does.
I love whipped cream, not whipped topping. Right?
Yeah.
Not
or out of the can.
Not something that comes out of a can. I'll tell you, growing up, I loved whipped topping. I just love that genre, right? Now, today I won't touch it. But I grew up with Cool Whip in the fridge, right? And unbeknownst to my parents, I would, the Cool Whip would be in the bottom shelf, in the back, and I would pull it out, just, nobody's home, and I would get a big old spoonful and just eat Cool Whip. But I'm a whipped cream, like I'm a heavy cream guy, so I can appreciate this. Let's dive in. Dive in.
Do you want to?
I got to hold it for you so it can be on camera.
I'm like, do we have a cake plate?
I know this is. I know this. Okay. The presentation
it's okay.
here.
It's okay.
This is in the Momo's takeout container. Right. This is Momo's takeout container.
So cute. I love the sticker, the little logo.
Oh, thanks.
I'll hold it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So for people who haven't been, we do 3 sizes in the shop. So this is the biggest size we do. That's our 4-inch personal. And then our minis and cuties come in cups. So they're like single serve, ready to eat.
Oh my goodness. Who needs happy juice when you can have this?
I was going to say, I love lots of desserts too. And so this is not a slam on any of the other desserts. I'm just speaking from the moment, right now. Who needs cookies?
That's how I feel.
So good.
She got over the awkwardness. Look at it.
I
She's
did.
just-
I'm like, I want to eat it all.
That's what we want to see. It's just you enjoying it.
Oh,
Yeah, one thing about our cheesecakes is we like creamy cheesecakes. So I feel like a lot of cheesecakes are more dense and like heavy, whereas we like ours to be light and creamy. So I think that's one thing that kind of sets us apart.
I agree. That is one thing that stood out to us the first time we had it.
no, it's like perfect cheesecake. It really, truly is.
Thank you.
So-
Yeah, we've worked hard on each element. The crust we wanted to make sure was graham and buttery. That one has an Oreo crust, which of course is super popular.
So what is this? This is also a special flavor. We did not do any of the originals this week. Well, because we know the originals will be there next week. And, and we had to kind of mix it up for the show. So tell us what we have here.
That one's our salted dark chocolate. That one we actually collaborated with one of the foodies in the area. So ice cream foodie, she came up with this flavor because it's like her favorite ice cream. And that's something we do a lot is we collaborate with foodies, which is a lot of fun. And like I said, kind of pushes me to try new things that I wouldn't normally do.
Kind of like a baklava cheesecake.
Exactly.
That just seemed like the appropriate time to put that in there.
That is something I'll have to look into. I'm so interested. I'm like the flakiness. That's very interesting.
I know. I'm hoping that you can make it. I might even start researching myself and send it to you.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
All right. Salted dark chocolate. Now, I hear salted caramel all the time, but I don't hear salted dark chocolate very often.
Yeah, and it's become popular. So I think she did a really great job with this flavor. I feel like if you're a chocolate lover, chocolate cheesecake is like, it makes it like more moussey. I love the texture of it. It's so good.
And this has an Oreo crust?
Yes.
Yeah. So we do Oreo crust, chocolate cheesecake, our chocolate ganache, and then we sprinkle sea salt on top.
Oh my goodness. This is heaven.
That is rich.
Yes.
Yes.
Not
definitely.
overly sweet. I mean, it's got plenty of sweet. It's got what's on top? Is that
Chocolate ganache. So yeah, that's probably the sweetest part.
It's the sweetest part of it. It's not overly sweet, but it's deep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something we get a lot of too, which I feel like is true, is like they're not super sweet desserts. Like there is, if you do the caramel, but if you're getting like the lime one, it's not overly sugary. You can eat a whole like mini or cutie and you don't feel like heavy and gross. It's a light, yummy treat.
Yes.
It's light decadence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love that.
Refreshing.
We appreciate that. We do a lot of work in Asia, and particularly, many Asian countries, but we do a lot of work in Japan as well. And so we travel to Japan, and something about Japanese desserts is that they're not overly sweet. Right. In fact, we celebrated one of our daughter's 8th birthday just past November. We were in Tokyo in November, and we got to go pick cakes, and they have these little cake shops with just delicious cakes, all different kinds. And, they sell them by the slice primarily. I mean, you can buy a whole cake, but typically you buy your individual sliced piece of cake. And the beautiful thing about it is you can eat that cake and enjoy it, and it's not something that feels so heavy. It's not so overly sweet. A lot of times here in the US, we just...
Yeah, for sure.
So I really appreciate that.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you guys know that I lived in Japan.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. So when I was...
Duh! You got a peach. Oh my goodness.
You catch the connection.
Okay, so Momo in Japanese is peach.
Yes.
I think I did tell you that a long time ago when I first found the cheesecake.
Yeah. So my nickname's always been Momo my whole life. And then when we moved to Japan, we learned about it, that it meant peach. And that just kind of became my mascot, or I know it's not an animal, but it just became my thing. So when I created this, it just felt perfect to tie it in.
Definitely.
I'm about to sing the Princess Peach song from Super Mario Brothers. beach. You're so cool, right? So your family lived in Japan?
Yeah, when I was 10 years old.
No kidding. How did that?
A little over a year.
No kidding. What brought that about?
My dad's job. So he was a consultant, so he would go to different companies. And so he consulted at Toshiba. So we lived in Yokohama. So we're pretty close to Tokyo.
Love Yokohama.
So that was an amazing experience.
I lived in Yokohama outside, a little town called Kamioka, which is part of, the greater Yokohama area. But yeah, absolutely. We've actually been to Yokohama together, babe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done
I love Japan.
Some stuff there.
Yeah, I'm dying to go back. I haven't been back since. So that's a goal in the next, I don't know how many years, to take my family there. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yes. We'll be there with you. That's double date, double family date. We love Japan.
Love it. We do have a goal to take our kids to Asia too. So we're excited.
Dun, dun. Like I feel like some dramatic music right now. The ultimate in self-love. Caramel Biscoff cheesecake from Momo.
So popular, but yes, very indulgent. So this one has our Biscoff crust, and then the cheesecake has caramel swirled into the actual cheesecake.
Oh, I see.
And then it's drizzled with our caramel and melted Biscoff butter, and we make our caramel in-house. And so that one's really good too.
If you're a caramel lover, you definitely can eat that by the spoonful.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and we do sell it by the jar now because people love the caramel.
Yes, so good.
Well, one thing I love is that you're really making all of these things in-house. Mm-hmm. There's no can openers there.
Yeah, I have to put a plug in for my mom. My mom makes our strawberry and raspberry sauces. I don't know if you guys have had them, but it's just like straight berries and sugar and stabilizer, and that's it. And she makes them by the hundreds of pounds, and everybody loves the sauces, and it's just fresh berries, super good.
Yes, I don't know that I've had the strawberry, but I have had the raspberry, and it is so, so good. Like I said, my favorite, raspberry lime.
That was a big bite.
He's like, I saw how she went on that chocolate one. So is that your offering?
There's a crumble.
Here.
There's a crumble of
Biscoff.
A Biscoff cookie or whatever on my hands. Oh, it looks so good. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You can't waste Biscoff. Biscoff is so good.
Oh, it really is.
Wow. Now, this is the sweetest of the three.
Yes.
For sure. Oh, man, this is so good. And this is the one we've eaten the most of so far. So what is in the middle? This is whipped cream in the middle as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So most of them have whipped cream on top.
It's another big bite.
And I feel like you have to get all the layers. You have to get the crust and the cheesecake and the topping to have the perfect bite.
The right way to do it.
Wow.
Okay.
So we're doing 4 brand new flavors this week. We just figured them out.
Oh.
I'm collaborating. Have you guys seen Donut Critic on social media?
Mm-hmm.
So he's collaborating. He came up with the Father's Day flavors. So we're excited to have 4 new fun flavors. They're going to be kind of supposed to be imitating drinks. So different drinks. So those will be really fun this week.
Yeah. We're both over here just,
I feel like I'm in yoga. I just finished up a personal goal for 100 consecutive days of yoga.
Oh, nice.
And today's like day 104 or something like that. But in yoga, sometimes she'll say, just kind of wrap your arms around yourself, give yourself a nice little hug. That's what I feel like right now. So I'm ditching yoga and I'm just eating the cheesecake.
You're going to be like Brandon, Mr. Momo, and just have a little cheesecake every day for 100 days instead of yoga.
Cheesecake and lifting weights.
Yes.
Brandon and I we could do like a healthy bromance here where I was out this morning in the gym, in our home gym, in the morning while most everybody was asleep. I did my lifting, but I can kind of see myself in a Zen kind of some vinyasa pose with a little bit of just a little mini, right? And breathing and getting it all. Like that's all self-love. Wow, that was a treat.
Well, that's just like the quote, hot chocolate is like a hug from the inside. Instead, cheesecake.
Wow.
Momo's cheesecake is like a hug from the inside.
I love it. I need to get all these taglines and start using them on social media.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You can threads, exit, like anything here. You actually may see on threads here, something with, some quote that you've had, on the Forever Young show, but Mama Momo, the Forever Young show.
Mrs. Momo.
I mean, Mrs. Momo.
My mom is Mona Momo. So yeah, Mama Momo.
So sadly, unless you come to one of the 4 locations, soon to be a 5th, is that correct? Soon to be a 5th.
Something, yes.
Something. And maybe a 6th. And like we've talked about 3 additional, so we're talking about maybe a footprint of 7. But sadly, you can't ship good cheesecake.
So we've worked on it. It's tricky. We have done it, so it's possible, but it's something I feel like you really have to put time and effort into. So we do it. We can do it. It is expensive. That's the hardest thing. It's like $50 just for shipping.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So this is an invitation to come to one of the current locations, or whenever you're listening to this, one of the locations, and come and get some self-love.
Hug from an inside. Hug from the inside.
Have you ever thought about a franchise model?
Yeah, actually. Yeah. And we've actually met with a couple of companies to hear what they have to say. So something we're heavily considering. We have people actually come into us. Do you franchise? We want a franchise. We want to open this here, this state, this 100%. State. Having that interest really builds that confidence. So we are talking to a few companies, and if it feels like the right move, we would move forward with that. And I think that would be amazing, like I said, to have it reach more people. So
yes,
hopefully, if it's the right move, we'll do that.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Well, you've seen that with another local brand, right? That isn't Cheesecake.
You don't even need to bring up their name because they don't even compare.
I won't. I'm just thinking about the crumble of cheesecake that was on my hands. Anyway, leveraging that, we have, I can think of friends who have decided to leverage that franchise model with that specific, dessert genre, way out of the state of Utah, right? Multiple times over. So that's, but I think that your cheesecake, well, obviously your cheesecake is amazing, right? It really is amazing. And cheesecake is something special, right? And you're talking to a cookie guy. I mean, like I grew up eating cookies. Like Steph.
I was going to say the way you just said that, where you're like, oh, it's amazing. I was like, wow, you don't get that very often.
Stephanie has this amazing cookie recipe from her grandmother. Mm-hmm. And thank you, grandmother. It is an amazing cookie recipe. I grew up eating cookies. My mom made, oatmeal chocolate chip, and oatmeal butterscotch cookies growing up, and I devour them. Stephanie, would make cookies and ask me one question.
How many do you want?
And it usually, we count them in dozens. Like, are you going to eat a dozen tonight? Right. But there's something special about cheesecake. It's an occasion.
I agree. I think it's hard to do. And so not a lot of people do it at home. It's something that you go out for. And then unfortunately, maybe a lot of the places don't do it well. But I think it's a dessert that people really love, and it's just not easy access. And so I like that, we've made it a little bit more easy. You don't have to buy a whole huge one. You can come just get a mini, try different flavors. And I think it's a great dessert, obviously. But I love cream cheese, period. Like as a kid, I would eat cream cheese by the spoonful. So there's just something just so good about cheesecake and the cream cheese and the different flavors. So I love it. I like to share it with people.
This is why she's Mrs. Momo. I was in the fridge stealing Cool Whip. And she went for the good stuff of cream cheese. That explains everything we've talked about today.
You just got to dream bigger, honey.
Well, good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. And I appreciate what you guys are doing and giving a platform to women. I love that.
Thank you. It's been so fun, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your super busy schedule and all the big important things you have going on in your life right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave us 2 hours on a Saturday with everything you've ever, all the other things you've talked about on your plate. Mm-hmm. And that's super appreciated. We decided not to do, at least, in the initial stages, not to do a short form, a shorter type of podcast. We're honored that you're a part of that, of community. CEO Momo, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.